the weekly PM UX sync for product analytics for May 24th, 2023. So let's take a peek at the sticky items first. Do you want to look at, as we revise these, looking at latest prototype for what we're validating? I think custom dashboard design is the latest thing that we're doing. Do you want to take a peek at that today? Is there any input that you need from me? Or should we talk about what is the next step in getting that validated and moving forward? So we can hone on that experience in 16.2.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think we've been discussing in the research issue around how we wanted to validate and what we wanted to get out of our study. And this is where I'm kind of not necessarily blocked, but like I think we really need to pin down what we want to get out of it for me in order to start building it. The build time shouldn't be so long, and we already have a direction because we started talking into the issue. But it's just about how do we want to? Sorry, not how. Well, I guess how. Sorry, because we were talking about how in the issue, but like what do we want to get out of it is gonna influence how we want to validate it.
What I want to get out of this exercise is instead of just saying, hey, we think this is the next right thing to build, and we're not going to talk to a customer about it before, but do a solution validation, pass through it, but streamline that process. Because I think that our best opportunity to make this successful is to move very, very, very quickly, faster than we're used to moving. And it's going to be uncomfortable for all of us, of not feeling like we have enough data, not feeling like maybe it's as usable as it should be, but getting it out there and seeing how users react to it more than putting it through a study, using user testing even. Like, how do we put a not even clickable prototype? Like, here's a storyboard of the flow based on the problem that other users of the product have described. Does this get to the outcome that you want to get to when you're trying to solve that problem? And going from that into build, and then putting it out there and using product analytics to measure, great, now is their usage, is what we said was going to happen, so that we can release 1 or 2 or 3 features every single milestone, and then continue to iterate on those to get to the targets that we want in the follow-on milestones. So it's moving different than we're used to moving. It's moving faster than we're used to moving, but I think that we have an opportunity to really treat this group as a startup and move fast and break things, for lack of a better term, in a way that still gets us some customer feedback before we launch. So that's my ultimate goal, is to let us move fast with a little bit of validation.
Okay. Right. So that kind of clarifies things, because like in the issue we started talking about value, and to me it kind of sounded like desirability. So then it's probably another thing in itself, right? To try to kind of assess this.
I think that we get desirability through a combination of inputs of, hey, are users upvoting these things? Hey, does a solution like this match up with a problem that we've heard from a customer? Like, in those conversations, I think that really what is going to enable this is, how do we talk to 2 or 3 or 4 customers every single week, whether it's internal or external, and say, here's what we just released. Have you been able to use it yet? If not, let's walk through it and try to solve a problem together that you're experiencing. If you have used it, what's your feedback? Great, here's the next thing that we're going to go build based on the feedback that we've heard over the last couple of weeks. Here's a potential solution for it. And that's not to say that that's like checking the box of, now we're going to go build that thing. If we get tangible feedback that's like, yeah, that's not usable, that's not my workflow at all, I don't know where to get that data, or I don't know what you're trying to tell me, great, we iterate on it. And then it's a nice rapid cycle for us to go back and talk to the next set of customers, or go back to that same customer and say, okay, we took your feedback. Based on that, we revised this to this different flow. What do you think about it?
Okay. All right.
So that feel clarifies compared to where we were prior to this?
Yeah, no, I think that clarifies things. It is definitely a different way of, I would say, building than what we used to. But I think we could try it. Obviously, like in my mind right now, like I'm having a hard time to kind of put it into the boxes, right? Because it's out of the box. But I guess the tool that would probably help us the most would be rapid iterative testing as we initially thought. But let's also discuss it with the team and see what people are saying. But if I follow your logic, I think it's probably the best tool we can use. And yeah, if the process is not perfect, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I
But to
mean, I
me, it's
think
probably the best tool we can use
I
right
want us
now.
to get closer to the model that we're using as a company on the AI experiments than what
Hmm.
we're used to doing. Like when I hear study, my brain immediately goes, okay, great, we're going to have results in 6 weeks. And that's just way too slow for the pace that we want to move for product
Okay.
analytics. Because I don't think we win by going slow unless we're getting features and value out there quickly. Like there's not a compelling reason for a customer to move over or to try the product.
Fair. I think the only thing that I would say is probably let's try to balance speed with viable, right?
Yeah,
And ensure that the stuff we release is not broken or doesn't necessarily provide any value from the
absolutely.
get-go.
Yeah. And that's where I think that getting that first customer feedback of, yeah, does this actually solve a problem you actually have? And engineering is there to listen as well and hear what can we
Yeah.
build? How fast can we build this? What do we need to do to reduce scope? And then we
Yeah.
can move forward with it. I think all three of us have to get involved.
All right. Yeah, it makes sense. And then I guess that ties into like the value that you were talking about in the research issue,
Yeah.
like value versus viable. Okay. Okay, okay, cool.
So I think
All right. No.
a first pass at that might be I just set up a call with the internal stakeholder, Jeremy, to talk about applying product analytics for pajamas to
Hmm.
the design site. Maybe we can walk him through the prototype or the designs for custom dashboard creation. Talk about, hey, here's audience dashboard, here's behavior dashboard as you're going to see them. There's other ways
Yeah.
to build a dashboard though, and here's the flow that we're thinking about if you're not getting the data that you want out of those two. Because he had some specific questions about page views that I think we can kind of talk through building a specific visualization for it and plotting them onto a custom dashboard through the prototypes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, a version of Write, I think that'll work. I've been having a hard time talking about funnels with customers and not having the example be a sales funnel, like a shopping cart.
Yeah.
And so I got some
Yeah.
feedback
Yeah.
yesterday of, yeah, we don't sell anything. So we don't really need that funnel view that you're talking about. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it's not just a sale. Like it's not just a shopping cart, though. It's just a classic example. And having a
Yeah.
little bit of e-commerce background, like that's the flow for me that makes sense. So I got to come up with a different description for that. As we talk to more and more internal tools and DevOps tools kind of folks, see what we can see what we can do there.
Right. And um your next item, I think is we kind of skip the item, sorry, because I'm skimming through the agenda.
All good.
We didn't touch on the track IDs and prototype progress, did we?
Not really. I was just thinking about we have that post GA and we have a bunch of stuff that we could go work on. Should
Hmm.
we build a board of sorts that's like a backlog, prototype, validated? Use some of the workflow
Mm.
labels that we have just to track where we're at and what we're building next and what we want to go prototype next.
Uh, I don't know if we should create another board because we already have like a deliverable board, right? And then it
Yeah,
starts getting a bit messy. I'm just thinking, what if we use the solution validation label to kind of say that this is in validation, like through a prototype or whatever
yeah.
type
I
of
know
phase?
the team is using that label as well for some of the technical validation, but
Yeah.
that should work. I think we can do that.
Okay. All right. Let's do it this way then.
Cool. I'm gonna drop a comment onto the issue where we're discussing with Justin and Nick and Adam, everybody about how we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Today. validation. And I'll link to the video once it's up. Cool. So right now we're working on custom dashboard creation. We'll chat with Jeremy tomorrow. After that, so jumping back up to sticky items, what do you think the next thing to go solve for is?
I'm curious to your thoughts on that, but like the visualization designer is probably something that we want to tackle. At least to me, when I went through the flow, I felt that there were a few things that we could improve in terms of like interaction. So like the way you pick your metrics and your dimensions. Like we're gonna have this long list of metrics and dimensions, and I think like if we keep scaling this list at some point, it's going to be really tedious. So yeah, so I think we can kind of work a bit on that. And to me, it's probably like one of the most critical flow to work on at the moment. And then I think we have other like things that I highlighted in the scorecard that are probably like, I would say less impactful to work on. What do you think?
Yeah, I think giving the visualization designer a path makes sense. Do you think, so there's a couple of things there that I heard. I know you wanted to talk about moving 3-column to 2-column as far as layout goes. And then there's also the listing of the dimensions and the metrics. Do you want to tackle those together or separately?
Together might make sense, I think.
Okay.
If we start kind of thinking about the layout, we should think about it as a whole and not isolate bits of the UI. Because otherwise we run the risk into building something that is a bit of a Frankenstein, right? So
yeah. I'd say moving from 3 to 2 makes some sense for me as far as like pick your metric, pick your groupings, pick your visualization. Here's what it looks like. Then the safe flow. I think at some point that list of potential metrics does get really, really long. And so switching that from here's just a list of all the things to like a searchable or a drop down that like auto completes might be a better way to go. I don't know. I find those really, we're getting into the weeds. I find those hard to use, but we could tackle that when we get to it. Like right now, what's our biggest list that we would be dealing with that's most unruly?
it's a good question.
If I look at visualization designer today,
I don't have it open.
And go grab it and look at it. I'm going to share my screen if that's right.
Sure. I was going to run Figma. If you have it open, it's better.
So this is the live version of it. So
yeah,
if I want to look at click events, this is the one that I've been doing. Our grouping by, I don't think changes if we're talking about events over time. What we might do though, like, do you, the concept of filters could fit in here as well?
as in
like, I want to look at this, but I want to filter it to, like, if this was actually a list of 1,000 pages, and I know that, so actually get rid of page title and give me page path. And I knew that all of the pages that I cared about looking at were in the specific, had the specific snippet of URL, and I wanted to filter for those. Like that is another dimension that we would want to add. We don't have that today, but that might come out in our chat with Jeremy tomorrow, as he was talking about specific bits of navigation that he wanted to track on the pajama site. But then taking this visualization thing and adding it back over here. Is that what you're thinking like for first step?
Well, I think, yeah, definitely filtering makes sense. But does it make sense when you're when you're creating your visualization? I guess that's something.
So
Yeah.
it's a designer. Also think about it as an explorer though. Like if I start here and I say, I've got a problem that I got to go figure out, I'm doing it to explore the data less than I'm doing it to go design a panel like with the answer in mind. I'm coming here with a question that I want to go solve with data. I might save that as a visualization. I might not. So we're treating this page like it has a couple of different use cases.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because like in this sense, you're more querying rather than in the flow of, okay, I'm going to add this to a dashboard.
Yeah, and then I might go add it to the dashboard then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's the general flow today. Flipping this, like getting rid of this and moving it over here makes sense. And then getting it out in front of users, I think, would be a next step for us. We are going to have, like, especially when we get into custom events, we're going to have some potentially big lists of things.
Yeah.
Or,
So I think we definitely need some select boxes or drop down.
This list right now is a static list of like things that you can get insights on. I wonder what that's generated from. The team might have some insights into how they picked these things and what else could potentially go there.
Yeah.
Because after that, then it ends up being data. And I think our filters or our search is what solves for that problem of there's a whole lot of things that are going to show up in my data set. But I'm making an assumption. Let's get it in front of, like, as is, let's get it in front of some users just to get some initial feedback and see what they think. But I think that cleaning up this flow makes sense as the next thing to go do. Getting this a little more polished so that people can explore and save data. I like where we're going with the flow of save the visualization and then be able to add it to a custom dashboard. I think we're on a good track there. And I think that UX is starting to get a lot easier based on the designs that you've been sharing already.
Cool.
Cool.
I'm adding this as an action item.
So I've been showing off Visualization Designer to the field team, CSMs and solution architects, and haven't gotten much for feedback from it yet. And then I've been sharing a link to my demo project where they can still access that, even though it's behind the feature flag, so they can play around with it a little bit as well. And haven't gotten much for feedback yet. But I think as people have their own data in the tool and they start exploring it, then there's going to be real questions that come up.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Oops. So review sticky items. Next is awesome. And jumping back around through the agenda, I don't think we had any action items last week. We have a couple now for this week.
Yep.
And I'll link this chat into the comment in that issue.
All right.
Cool, man. Anything else you want to chat through? We have sync time?
No, I think we're good to go.
Awesome. All right. Oh, and wanted to make sure you did see, I mentioned a couple of times or implied that we have a chat tomorrow with Jeremy from the design team. It's in a time that everybody's core hours or open hours, working hours, and that we were all free. So hopefully you can attend. If not, I'll definitely record it. And I'll mention to the team in Slack here in a minute that we're meeting up with an internal customer if they want to join and listen in as well.
Cool.
Awesome.
Great.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too. See you.
Cheers.
Bye.